factions. Some will be your supporters, some will be your opponents, so they are likely to say anything. That's the way of the world today. But people must be fair in their comments. And this, the incumbent, I hope, is fair in the sense that he will not say anything that the president-elect has said, had him say, or the spokesperson, or any authorized person that threatens him. The first language in their communication was public. I congratulate you, my doors are open. You've had experience 22 years. I may have cause to come to knock at your doors to consult you. That was the language from the president-elect, recorded in public space. And I hope anytime you meet the incumbent, you will remind him of what we had said, what the president-elect had said. At the most critical moment when he said he has nullified things and he had no power to do so, the reaction could have been to attack. We're going to do something, something will happen. But there too will give you the address. We are all born in 1965. We should be committed to the supreme interest of our nation so that we can make history together. This has never happened. You will see it in the address. And that what I would want is to invite you as the second president of the Gambia, with the first president, to my inauguration as the third president of the Gambia. You will see it in the address. And through radio interviews, etc. Push to the hilt to say something about injustices that may have prevailed. He said, yes, justice is absolutely essential. And injustice should be redressed. But we are going to take the route of truth and reconciliation. This is the language of the president-elect. And a state that is responsible must listen to a language from a responsible authority to be able to indict if there is need to indict. And we hope that you will know those facts and put it across. So lastly, we have been telling people as a whole that you cannot criticize something and then sink to it. The coalition want to bring redress. So therefore, we want the rule of law. The incumbent is still the president of the republic. He has not been indicted. Nobody has said anything about him. So what brings about exercising prerogative of mercy or amnesties, etc.? That's not the language of the coalition. The language of the coalition is, we will respect constitutional authority, which states that you have a judiciary, you have an executive, you have a legislature. It's not the province of the president-elect to talk about anything in that regard. That is a matter for the judiciary. And it is not a matter for the president-elect to get into the presumption of guilt of anybody to talk about providing some amnesty. We believe in the presumption of innocence. That is even after you are indicted. But nobody has been indicted. We have not even taken power yet. So that's not at all the language of this coalition. And we have all the documents to show that in our discussion, in everything we have done, we are preparing to be committed to democracy, the rule of law, respect for human rights, justice, good governance. Because we believe that that is what will enable to endear Gambia to the whole world, so that investors will come, so that we'll be able to make progress. And that is why my conclusion is, as far as we are concerned, we are fully constitutional, we are constitution compliant. And at this material moment, there is no constitutional issue that bars him from preparing for inauguration. And from the language of ECOWAS, we have not seen any of them saying that they are going to flush the incumbent out. Our language is their language, that the incumbent is the president-elect. That is indisputable. And that when the term of the incumbent expires, he should assume office. That is their premise. And that is our premise. And we are working on that. And they are saying they will come when that happens. If anything happens in between, that's a new element. We will not speculate about that. We don't know about that because it does not exist. What we know is what we hold on to. And that's what we tell our supporters. Thank you very much.
Were it not for some statements made on the national media, which directly affects me. Mr. Salah is our spokesperson. He addresses matters and issues concerning the coalition and the transition team. But I will be doing disservice to myself if I do not come here and to disabuse the minds of your delegation as well as the minds of everyone who listened to the broadcast yesterday. We heard His Excellency the President say, the leader of the opposition, he is a lawyer. He said he will not take permission to go out on a demonstration, that he killed somebody here, cut him into pieces. The evidence was before the court here. And the Commonwealth interfered because the judge was a Commonwealth appointed judge. And I'm sorry to say, Mr. President has misled everybody. That is misinformation. The judge who presided over that case was Honorable Justice A.S. Tahir, whose services were made available to the government of the Gambia by the government of Nigeria. He was on technical assistance. He was not a judge who was appointed by the Commonwealth. And the then Director of Public Prosecution, a very able man, who later became Chief Justice of this country, partly conducted the prosecution until when he was elevated to the Court of Appeal, and other counsel conducted the case. The evidence was so poor that no judge will listen to it. And how can you have somebody cut into pieces and you exhibit that in court? That beats anybody's imagination. But I want to disabuse your minds that we are not men of violence. I have never been violent. I have never been violent, and I hope I will never be violent. But I also do not accept allegations made against me that are fabricated, that are misleading. The courts are here. Everyone has his day. The prosecution has a right to appeal any case. And the judges will determine the case on the strength of the evidence adduced in the lower court. That was not done. Now, I think it is a disservice to those Nigerian judges who have given excellent service to this country to really say that there was interference with them. And I hear Mr. President Waifo say that we are not being judgmental, but yesterday I thought that some of the statements were judgmental. That look, you cannot say this about the judges. You cannot say that about the judges. But he sat there and said something about the judges, because that the international press was saying something about the judges, which was not right. Yes, that's not right. But he sat there and was saying something impinging on the integrity of the judges. I would have thought that that would have been appropriate to say, Mr. President, we are condemning the international press for really taking on judges in this manner. You, as the guardian, the fountain of justice in the Gambia, you ought not to make this type of statements about a judge, whose decisions you may not be happy about. For us, or for me in person, for the judge not to acquit me, was not his desire. What he wanted was for him to convict him. We have heard him say that after the execution that, look, somebody was acquitted and discharged. If he was convicted, he would have been the first to go to the gallows. He said so on television. He said so on television. Yeah? And I did not expect that your political opponent, you really wish him to be taken to the gallows. I did go out on demonstration, and I have said in the past that I will not apply for permit to hold a meeting because that is constitutionally guaranteed. My right to hold meetings is constitutionally guaranteed. But since the law provides that I cannot use a public address system without obtaining a permit for the use of the public address system, I always apply to the Inspector General of Police to grant me permission to use a public address system at our meetings. I don't ask for meeting. And I said I will never ask permission to hold a meeting, but I'll always ask permission to hold meetings at which I will use a public address system. Because there's a distinction using permission to use a public address system and permission to hold a meeting. And I insist on that. When we were stopped some months ago, that when we were denied permit to use a public address system, I went on with a meeting, to hold a meeting, and I was arrested. And that is why they've been using that. I said we will hold meetings without a permit. That is not true. Yeah? And, what led to my imprisonment, and again, I had some chat with you outside, show my disappointment because I did tell the Director of Public Prosecution that he was misusing the law. He was putting the law into improper use. That is why in my allocutus that was never delivered, I made references to the Benthamite philosophy of maximizing the greatest happiness of the greatest number, and that the Marxist theory that the law is in the hands of the governors to be used as an instrument of oppression, and that is what is happening here. One of my supporters was arrested, which the government has every right to do. If you suspected to have committed an offense, they have every right to do so. And he was taken away, and then in detention he died. How he died, we don't know. And we went out and said, give him to us, dead or alive. That is my offense. And I went out because I know that you have authorities from the Privy Council, from the Supreme Court of Nigeria, from the Court of Appeal in Nigeria, which you are quite au fait with, All Nigeria People's Party, that you do not need permission to go out to demonstrate. Justice Okeke made it quite clear. So what offense have I committed? But he has left me with the impression that this is what I said, meaning that I have gone out to break the law. And I would have thought that at least quite somebody would say, look, Mr. President, Mr. Dabo has that right to do. Sorry. But the issue, why I'm saying this, because I have been projected as being a person who is non-compliant with the law. And that is certainly not the case. I have always been compliant with the law. If I have not been, this country would have been in chaos long ago. Since 1996, I could have put this country into flames, but no. I have no second home. This is my home. The stability of this country is in my best interest. If I want to carry on with my law practice, effectively, I have to do it in an atmosphere of tranquility and stability. And I have absolutely no reason, and I have absolutely no intention of destabilizing this country. And I think this is my first opportunity. I have opportunity to make this public statement, and I hope that in future, when there is need to talk about matters affecting the opposition or the political parties, no reference is made to this, because it really hurts me. It puts me in bad light, and in bad light because I do not have the same medium that he has. GRTS should be here. You had television coverage, both television and radio. We do not have here. We do not have one here. And